Yo, what's up, guys? We're back, and this week I got a special show for you guys. I'm going to be doing the Octagon 65 breakdown and prediction. You look at this card, man, really awesome card. We had that Tip Sport tournament that Octagon started at the beginning of the year, and I think it played out as good as possible for them, man, with Ronald Paradiso and Kita rematching in the main event of this card. And there's a lot of great fights throughout the card. I mean, we got Jonas Magard versus Igor Seferino, the biter. I mean, dude, that's a sick fight. Anytime Ravon Uskrt is fighting, man, that guy's a first rounder buzz knockout artist a lot of the time. Fun fighter. We got Bolander coming back, who I think is a really good prospect for women's MMA, and just a lot of great fights in general, man. So I'm really excited for it. And I am going to have a few bets for this fight card. So if you want to go check out my written breakdown, some bets, then go to patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. And besides that, man, I think this is going to be dropping on Christmas Day for most people listening to it. So everyone that's celebrating Christmas, with the fam or however you do it, hopefully you have a great Christmas. And outside of that, man, I will try to come back, do a Ryzen video, and I would like some comments on this video. If you guys can give me at least like 3 to 5 comments asking for the Ryzen video, helping out the algorithm, hit that like button, and I likely will come with a Ryzen video for you guys. So make sure to just show love to this video here. But thanks everyone for always watching for the whole year. And yeah, man, let's get into these breakdowns. The first fight of the night, we got two really young prospects. We got Jacob Batfalsky, who's 22, Dominic Toporser, 21. Both have 6 fights. You look at Batfalsky, 5-1. The one loss was in Octagon. He has came back, got 2 wins in a row since the loss in Octagon, which was in February, and he's looking to get his first win in the promotion. For Toporser, this is going to be his debut in Octagon. He's 4-2, and he needs a win here. He started his career 3-0. He's 1-2 in his last 3 fights. He lost to David Maternick in his last fight, so he kind of has to bounce back here. Obviously, Toporser's only 21, so he should keep improving at a high rate, but hopefully he isn't biting off a little more than he could chew too early into his progression. 4-3 isn't a really good record, but the winner of this fight, regardless, if they are impressive, I think they could maybe sign a long-term contract to Octagon and change their life. So it's a big-time fight for both guys. For Toporser, definitely a finisher. He's finished all of his wins in the first round. Both of his losses are decisions, so obviously if he can't get that finish early, he hasn't really proven he can win minutes, but good at pressuring. He cuts the cage off. He has good feints, good fakes, kind of hands high, decent defense, but doesn't really move his head, and he does move forward and backwards kind of fluidly. He is fast, but doesn't really throw much on the feet. A lot of his offense is kind of just leg kicks, and he mainly just backs fighters up, and works his wrestling. He does have decent wrestling against lower level competition. He's shown some ground and pound. He has 2 submission wins, 3 knockout wins, but his cage wrestling kind of got exposed badly his last fight. He got held against the fence for a large portion of the fight. He got taken down with body locks and just didn't look good on bottom. His get-up game wasn't there. He does have a good guillotine, so that's something that Batfalsky has to be worried about. But, David Maternick, the guy that was out wrestling, to me isn't really a high-level grappler or anything, so it wasn't a good look to see him kind of get dominated in that way. But Jacob Batfalsky is a dangerous guy in all areas. I would say he's not great anywhere, but on the feet, he maintains the center. He has good pressure. He'll throw some hooks, some kicks, but he really wants to get guys to the fence, shoot. He has pretty good wrestling. I wouldn't say elite wrestling, but in this fight, I think he will be effective with it. And he has the better submission game. Even if he's taken down, I think he could hunt submissions off his back and do well there. The triangle kind of seems to be the go-to submission for Batfalsky off bottom, so that is what Toporser should be looking out for. And, Batfalsky, if he can get on top, I think he could finish this fight or at least dominate. So, yeah, I personally feel Batfalsky should win this one. I think he fought a fighter who's a better version of Dominic Toporser in his last fight, and he won in a pretty close competitive match. But it was a little controversial. He was mounted when the final bell sounded, but he had a lot of control time in the round before that, and I think his cardio advantage and I think his scrambling ability, his top game, is just a lot better than Dominic's. Dominic may get a takedown early, but I think Batfalsky would be able to use his jiu-jitsu to scramble back up and maybe even reverse get on top. And I just think his cardio and his superior skill level is going to get him the win. But Batfalsky isn't super dangerous. He has more finishes than decisions, but I kind of believe this is likely a decision fight for Jacob Batfalsky. I am fairly confident he wins. I think he is a guy that you can kind of parlay up potentially. But yeah, continuing on through the card, this next one you got Marco Novak. He's taking on Emil Karella. Tough fight to call here. I mean, Marco Novak, 5-1 pro. As far as experience goes, he has really little experience in comparison to Karella. If you combine Karella's amateur and pro fights, he has 30 fights. He's 16-14, but 7-2 as a pro. So obviously his amateur career wasn't great, but his pro career has been very good. And Karella, he's trying to avoid going 0-2 in Oktagon though. First fight with the Oktagon was May 4th, 2024, and he got submitted by Max Holzer. Holzer is 10-0. He's one of the best featherweight prospects in Europe, so it was a hard debut, kind of a predictable loss, but he actually performed pretty well in that fight. But outside of that, he doesn't have a good resume, so he has a lot to prove as a fighter at this level. He has a lot of experience, a ton of amateur fights, but we've just yet to see him beat that kind of next level opponent. Skill-wise, Karella is athletic. He has a hands-down counter style. It kind of bounces in and out of range. You'll explode in with big punches. Nice right hand. You'll throw the lead hook. And he is one and done, but he has good timing, hand speed, solid power. He'll use punch blitzes to kind of disguise his level changes, and he is really explosive. He has a fast shot. On top, he will try to use ground and pound to kind of give space so fighters make a mistake, give their back. And most of the time, he's finishing in the first round on the ground in his wins. He has 2 submissions with rear naked chokes. And ironically enough, though, he's been submitted himself with rear naked chokes in both of his losses. He isn't that hard to take down, but he's a good scrambler. He'll threaten guillotines. He can reverse position and on top. His last fight, he did stuff a few early takedowns against Max Holzer, who is a actual pretty high-level wrestler. He is hittable on the feet, Karella. Fighters with effective pressure can kind of get in on him if they could stuff the takedowns, but he's wild. He has kind of hand-down style. Zero head movement, kind of relies on landing that check hook moving backwards. So if you can time a cross or overhand over the top, he is there to be hit. He can get hit if you can extend combinations. His conditioning is pretty good, but he has a really taxing style cardio-wise, and you saw Max Holzer gas him out with constant takedown attempts before subbing him. But overall, I think Karella is kind of a difficult puzzle to solve. He's dangerous. He's a good fighter. He's been super entertaining as a pro, and all of his fights have ended within the first 2 rounds. So we'll see if he can claim another victim and finish Marco Novak. For Marco Novak, he's been in fine form lately. He's the winner of 3 in a row. He beat 2 undefeated fighters back-to-back, and I do think this is his best opponent, but he is going to be confident, and he's a super polished boxer. His last fight, he beat a super polished boxer in his last fight, so this is a totally different matchup, but also a chance for Novak to show he can beat different styles. And Novak, he's long and rangy, he's methodical. He isn't the fastest fighter, but he's skilled on the feet. He has good Muay Thai, he shoots the jab, he'll throw some low kicks, front kicks up the middle, 1-2s. He could throw some decent straight punch combos, hook combos. He will get backed up, and guys who are fast can kind of close that gap on him and touch him. Like I said, he isn't the fastest guy, but he has a good high guard. He'll return with nice punches, so being in that pocket with him is a little dangerous. And he has good knees. I expect his clinch knees to be a big part of his game plan, along with the jab in this fight. And he's good at using his size to take the back as well, so I think that's another thing he could potentially do. I feel like being submitted twice, Karella with the rear naked choke, Novak may try to get that backpack position, see if he can find the neck. I don't think Novak is as good of a grappler as Karella, but his defensive wrestling for Karella just doesn't seem that great, and maybe he could be controlled on bottom in this fight, but I do see this fight kind of going either way. Early on, Karella should be faster. I kind of expect him to get some takedowns, and I think he could maybe get the back and hit a rear naked choke or finish early, but I don't know if he can maintain his cardio and be the fighter with more top control over 3 rounds. And if it's stand-up only, I think Novak will be able to eventually start to land those long punches, pick his shots. Karella maybe a little quicker early, but I think that's not going to last. And Novak has better clinch weapons. I think if he can get the back, he could control there. But, um, I don't know if Novak really has that finesse to get the submission. I don't really have a good read on this fight. I'm going to slightly edge Novak just because of the competition level he's beaten in comparison to Karella and the fact that he's won decisions. I kind of trust his cardio, his composure. Karella faster, more dynamic. But if he can't run through Novak, which I think is going to be hard, I don't know if he can win over 3 rounds. So I'm going with the fighter I think is a little bit more established there in that one with Marco Novak. But this next fight, I'm excited for this one. We got Cecile Bolander. She's making a return to competition after her fun fight there with Lucy Pudilova. But style-wise, I think Bolander is one of the bigger female prospects in Europe. She's an IMAF amateur champion. She was 7-1 as an amateur, and as a pro, she's 3-1 so far. She's coming off of her first pro loss. She took a massive step up. She fought Pudilova, like I said, and it was only her 4th fight. Pudilova was 14-10 when they fought. She'd fought the top-level girls many times in the UFC. And Bolander still performed well in that fight. I actually thought she won that one. So, obviously, I think that she's improving. Her stand-up used to be really bad, but it seems like she's getting better with the stand-up, and she's really a dog, man. She's has great pressure, great cardio. She gets in your face. She'll take a shot to eat a shot, or take a shot to give a shot, and it seems like her stand-up is getting a little better. She's not necessarily a good stand-up fighter, but she's always mixing in the takedowns. She'll attempt 20 takedowns a fight if she has to, and kind of makes it hard to know what she's going to do. She was able to drop Pudilova, so she has power. Pudilova is someone that's very durable, and Bolander hurt her. And then Bolander does have a lot of ways she can finish takedowns. She can hit doubles, she can hit clinch takedowns, and her armbar is elite. 9 of her 10 wins are first-round armbars. I believe all of her amateur wins were armbars in the first round. She had her first 2 pro wins, armbars in the first round. It seems like fights that go the distance, she hasn't really proven she could be that consistent. She lost her one amateur fight that went the full 3 rounds, and she's 1-1 as a pro in decisions with both of them being splits. But I thought she clearly won her last fight. I think her cardio looked really good. So I'm not too worried about if she has to go long in this particular matchup. She's fighting someone who's been trying to make her debut in Oktagon all year. She's kind of just been unlucky with Sarah Smajic. Smajic was supposed to fight February 10th, September 21st. Both those fights didn't end up happening. She actually was going to fight Bolander September 21st, so they did keep this matchup intact for both girls. And Smajic, 4-2. She has been fighting in big promotions like KSW. She beat Atina Alvarez, Natalia Krawick, who are decent fighters. But she hasn't fought since June of 2023, so it's been quite a while. And she has good upper body movement and decent boxing. She's kind of a pot shotter because she doesn't really set her feet the greatest to me. Kind of gets her countered with big punches as well, can get her taken down. But I actually was fairly impressed with her takedown defense against Atina Alvarez. Her sprawl was pretty on point, and even in her last fight, she was able to mix in some takedowns. So I think that she might be a little underrated in that area. But with Bolander, I think she's going to be a disadvantage in the grappling for sure. But, I do think Smajic is a better boxer than Pudilova, so maybe it could be a little bit harder style matchup in that sense with someone that's moving a little bit more and not as static of a target like Lucy. But I don't think Smajic has the heart of Lucy. She doesn't have the experience, and if Bolander is pressing her and gets her in these bad spots or these positions where she got Pudilova, I think that she could end up finishing Smajic or at least dominating her to decision. So, yeah, usually when Bolander wins, it's a first-round submission, so that's maybe the most likely outcome. But I could see a decision win for her as well. And I do believe she's going to get the job done. But I think the line is a little bit wide, but I do like Bolander in that fight there. And next fight on the card, man, we got line that I think is way off. I'm actually going to go with the underdog here in this one in Ozan Aer. Ozan Aer making a comeback to competition. He hasn't fought in 2 years. The last time we saw him was December 3rd, 2022, where he lost due to a knee injury, and I'm not exactly sure how long he's been back training full time since the injury, but it must have been a hard recovery for him to be out this long. And he's 8-5-1. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, so this is a pivotal fight for his career. The last time that Aslander won a fight was October 9th, 2021. It's been a long time, and he's been fighting really stiff competition. He has some impressive wins, and he's a good mover. He's evasive. He has upper body movements. He's fast. He's hard to corral, and loose hands. His power is good. I mean, he's always moving, so sometimes he can kind of be more pot shottery, but when he's able to land some nice pull counters, he really can hit you hard and knock you out. And good lead hook, good lead uppercut, straights are on point, good overhands, good flying knees. I mean, the guy has good stand-up. And takedown defense, I actually was impressed by. Good scrambling ability. I think he's dangerous in top position, and great conditioning. So I actually think Aslander is a good fighter. His opponent, Jacob Teixeira, 3 losses in a row, so he's obviously in a little bit of a danger zone in his career after a 5-0 start. All 8 of his fights were with Oktagon, so he's a mainstay with the promotion, but 4 losses in a row definitely could get him his walking papers, and 2 of those losses were title fights. One of those losses was a split, so he's still a viable fighter. He just has to mentally lock in and try to get the job done. And Teixeira, aggressive fighter, he brings up pressure, he throws a lot of looping strikes. His defense isn't the greatest, but he has good durability, has quick hands. He'll throw right hands, left hooks. His calf kicks are good, and he'll throw some front kicks. And really, he's just trying to back you up and explode on you, try to catch you with some big shots and knock you out. That tends to get him clinched up a lot. He'll overextend and kind of just end up clinching guys against the fence. And his wrestling grappling isn't bad. He also pushes a hard pace so he can break guys. His chin, like I said, is elite. So if he has to take damage, he can and kind of use that to break fighters. And he got dominated his last fight by a wrestler. I feel like his takedowns are okay, but he can get sloppy. And I think that Aslander is actually probably the better grappler. I think Teixeira, he's good with in and out movement. He has good looping punches. He could land a few big shots, but I think he primarily is going to struggle to land and have difficulty with the footwork, the counter style of Aslander. Teixeira has to get on the leg kicks, mix takedowns in, and try to land those big punches when he can. For Aslander, I think he has to use his movement, footwork, whether it's on the front foot or back foot. Look to land the counter left hand, the uppercut, and the big right hands that he has. And I think he can land plenty with the pull counters of Teixeira to probably win a fight over 15 minutes. What is concerning with Aslander is the layoff and the knee injury. Hopefully he can come back the same from that. And with this heavy movement style, he needs it to be able to have his legs. But I think at 27 years old, he probably has been able to recover fully. So I'm going to predict he wins here. I am a little worried about a robbery because I've seen Oktagon give fights to hometown fighters in egregious decisions when they kind of didn't deserve it. And Teixeira needs a win here. He's an Oktagon mainstay. I mean, best case scenario for Aslander is he just takes the judges out of it and puts Teixeira out. But if he can, he has to make it definitive because you don't want to see him getting robbed here. But I think this fight should be climbed way closer to a pick'em, and you can get Aslander at a great price. So go on Bet Online, put some money on him, and see if you can get some money there. And kicking off the main card, we got Mateusz Legursky. He's taking on Agi Sardari. And Agi Sardari, mainstay in the European scene. He's fought for Cage Warriors, Aries FC, 2 times for Oktagon. And he did lose his debut to Ozan Aer in Oktagon, but came back with an impressive win over Attila Korkmaz in September. Now he's going to be looking to close out 2024 2-0. And he's taken on one of the best fighters in Oktagon history, though. He's taken on Mateusz Legursky, who's 9-1 in 10 fights with the promotion. He was 9-0 going to his fight with Ozan Aer in September, but lost a decision in that one, snapped a 5-fight winning streak for him, and gave him his first loss in the promotion. Legursky's never lost 2 fights in a row, so he's going to be looking to come back strong here. And I kind of could see the winner of this fight getting a title shot or a big-time fight next time. Legursky, he's a grappler. He's kind of ugly but effective with the stand-up. He looks a little rigid, but he has good check hooks, good counter right hands. He's fast, so he can slip and rip with big punches. His defense, I would say, isn't the best, but he can be evasive enough to get offense off. And he isn't a super active kicker, but he has a decent kicking game. He'll throw head kicks, spinning kicks. His leg kicks are okay. And he hits hard. He sits down on all his punches, so that makes him dangerous in the pocket. His conditioning is really good, so when fighters slow down, Legursky can pick up the pace, be more effective with his offense. And when the speed advantage for him is a little bit more pronounced when guys get tired, he could start to tag people. But you saw him struggle with the speed and pressure of Losin Kita. He was able to land some crackback and blitz counters, but he got hit with a lot of straight punches. He got hurt to the body. It was just a little too slow. But round three, when Kita was fatigued, Legursky actually put it on him a little bit, had Kita shooting takedowns. So his cardio is really good, and his stand-up is clearly getting better. He mixes it up. He's good at catching kicks, getting takedowns that way. Was effective versus Khan Wanless with that, and you'll get guys against the cage down as well. He likes to go single, try to take the back, and he's a good wrestler. For Agi Sardari, kind of a low-volume counter striker with good movement, good footwork. His leg kicks are nasty, his good body kicks, uppercuts, check hooks, and his timing on the single leg is on point. He'll mix the takedowns in well and use the takedown threat to feint the level change, come up top with uppercuts, counter punches. He'll throw to the body as well, which is good. His feints are on point. He's fast, but low volume, and he will back up and shell and try to get guys to come to him and then land those sharp counters. And unless he can knock Sardari out, I think he might just get bullied a little bit. He does have those back takes, and you'll use the single, but I feel like Legursky's a little bit more physical, and if Sardari tries to defend the pressure Legursky with takedowns, I think that could be to his detriment. He could get reversed, could get put on his back and end up in a bad position. So I just think that Legursky's gonna be able to take the similar game plan that Michael Figlak did, pressure, don't give Sardari room to breathe, push him up against the fence, hit some takedowns, and just make it a brawl and a war. And I think that if he does that, he can go out there and get this victory. So Legursky, for me, is the prediction in that fight. And, yeah, I like that fight, though. I think both guys are pretty solid fighters and good competitors in that division there. Next matchup here, we got Ravon Uskrt. He's taking on Daniel Schwin. And Daniel Schwin, this is going to be his debut for Oktagon. He's 5-2, but pretty unknown fighter at this stage. This is a short notice matchup that he has accepted. He wasn't the original fighter to fight Uskrt on this date. And he's finished all his wins, but really hasn't beaten anyone of note. He's only fought 4 fighters that have winning records, and he's 2-2 in those fights. So he's been able to go 3-0 against guys that are below 500, but obviously when he's been fighting a little bit better competition, he hasn't delivered every time. And his last fight, he won in 15 seconds over a 14-28 fighter. It's his only fight of the year, so he hasn't been very active in 2024. Obviously, this is a big opportunity for him to try to go in there and get a win over Ravon Uskrt, who, you look at his record, 8-5. It's definitely an ugly record, but he's an Oktagon mainstay. This is his 11th fight with the promotion. He's 6-4 in Oktagon. He had a ton of bangers. Killer be killed fighter. 9 of his 10 Oktagon fights have ended before the final bell. And he's been up and down, obviously, but his competition level has been really high. His last fight, he fought 13-3 fighter, and he got submitted. But Peter Neese is a freak of nature, man. I mean, 56 years old out there killing people, but he's just a much more established fighter than Daniel Schwin. Schwin to me looks kind of like a glass cannon. He goes out there, he's aggressive early, has like a few minutes of cardio, and if he can land a big right cross, overhand, uppercut, flying knee, I mean, maybe he could knock you out, but kind of all a right-sided fighter. Seems like his grappling is really lacking. Like, he will scramble a bit, but if you could stuff a few of his submissions, he's going to quit, and you can kind of just pound him out, it looks like. And after a few minutes, his defense just kind of falls out the window. He's not as aggressive. And Uskrt, boxer, comes forward hands high, throws bombs, good jab, 1-2s. He'll throw big right uppercuts, left hooks, and he'll try to back fighters up and throw kicks. Good knees in the clinch on the inside. He's durable. I think he's mentally tougher. He's only been stopped with strikes 1 time, and he's a finisher. I mean, 7 of his 8 wins are round 1 finishes, so that's kind of what I see happening here. I think that these guys are going to go in there, they're going to bang early. Uskrt is going to be able to outlast Daniel Schwin and then knock him out. So I like Uskrt in this one. I think he is a fairly safe play on this card. Don't really think Daniel Schwin is probably at that level at this moment. And if he is, he's going to have to prove that to me. But Jonas Magard versus Igor Seferino in the next fight on the card. Really high-level fight, man. This fight's awesome. Magard, tried and true veteran. He's a former champion of Oktagon. He fought great competition in recent years. His only loss in recent memory was to Felipe Lima, who's in the UFC now. Um, and he's in his prime at this point in his career. He's 32 years old. He's accrued a ton of experience. And his opponent, on the other hand, is in kind of a complete opposite um, spot. You know, he's 21 years old. He made his way to the UFC extremely fast by destroying a lot of Brazilian fighters, winning on the Contender Series, and then, man, I mean, he was looking good in his fight with Felipe Lima, but Lima was constantly grabbing the cage. He was fouling, so I feel like Seferino just lost it and he bit him. And I mean, man, shout out to him for being able to bite with a mouth guard like that. But obviously, you can't do that. He got cut from the UFC, and I think he should maybe be able to make his way back there at some point. But obviously, he cost himself a lot. But I'm glad that he came and got this opportunity with the Oktagon, because Octagon pays guys good. It's a big promotion. They're gonna have like 18,000 fans, so Igor Seferino is gonna be treated well there. But style-wise, Magard, well-rounded fighter. He's primarily a wrestler, but his stand-up is pretty good as well. He has good speed, good footwork, kind of linear with his movement, but he does move pretty well. His jab isn't bad, and he will be active with it. He likes to come over the top with lead hooks. He'll throw a lead hook to cross combinations. He has good leg kicks, really good chin, and usually he's the fighter that can pressure and go forward because guys don't want to get taken down by him. If you can pressure Magard and stuff the takedowns, that's kind of where you can get to him, pushing him against the fence, throwing combinations. He can get hit a little bit there, but Magard is a good wrestler. He has good control, good scrambling ability. He'll force guys to come to him and then level change, good timing on the doubles. And his wrestling can be a little predictable, so if you have a really good sprawl and, he can't back you up near the fence, he could struggle to take you down a little bit, but he's fine with having you sprawl, get on top of him so he could scramble and end up in top position, and he's really good at that usually. He does give his back to reverse, but he has kind of perfected it. And Felipe Lima was able to outposition Magard and beat him to a decision, but obviously Felipe Lima is a beast. All-stars guy. He's been training with some of the best fighters in the world. He's in the UFC undefeated now. And Magard's cardio is elite. I mean, he has a ton of 5-round experience. For 3 rounds, his cardio is going to be really good. Igor Seferino, he's a beast. He has a ton of potential. He is a kind of Robocop-ish with his footwork, but he'll cut the cage off. He has a good high guard. He'll unload with punches when he gets in punching range. Crisp hands, he's loose. Nice lead hooks, good 1-2s, 3-2s. Counter right hand is on point. He could struggle with movers, and I think Magard, moving laterally more, which he doesn't really do, could be something that he could bring into this matchup and be effective with. Due to his high guard, he will eat body shots, but he's really durable, and he can just wilt guys with his cardio and his pressure and boxing, and he has serviceable wrestling, grappling, good single leg, good double leg. His ground and pound looks all right, but his jiu-jitsu seemed a little lacking. I feel like Magard could win the scrambles there, so I don't know if Seferino is going to want to be on the ground with Magard, but conditioning-wise, Seferino does have good conditioning, but I think Magard's is a little bit better. And I was kind of originally going to pick Seferino in this matchup, but I'm going to go with Magard here. I think that Magard can kind of just not expose Igor because he's 21, he's going to be getting better, but just show that he's not quite at a Magard level yet. I think that Magard can mix it up. He can move, use the jab, use kind of his touching strikes to frustrate Seferino, get him to close that gap, and then take him down. And I think he can get Seferino tired and kind of out-grap him a little bit. So I'm going to go with Jonas Magard here to win a decision in this fight. And in the co-main event, we got the first title fight of 2 on this card. We were going to have 3 title fights on this card, but unfortunately, Lucia Sisbova pulled out, which I think she was going to win against Lucy Pudilova and claim that belt there. But hopefully they can rebook that fight. But Carlos Vamola, light heavyweight champion, defending his belt against Will Fleury. And Carlos Vamola, this guy is a beast, man. He's a pioneer for Czechoslovakian MMA. 39 years old, so obviously he's getting up there. He debuted in 2008, seen it all. He's fought 45 times, and he became the first Czech fighter to compete in the UFC in 2010 at UFC 116, and he went 2-4 in 6 fights with the UFC. He got cut pretty quick, but after leaving the UFC, he went back to fighting in the UK and Europe, and he went on a complete tear. He won 7 fights in a row, 2 title fights. He Did end up losing to Jack Hermanson in 2015, but after the Hermanson loss, he won 11 more fights in a row. So he was just killing it. He dropped another fight in 2019. But once again, that loss sparked a winning streak for Vamola, who won 7 more fights in a row after that loss, including capturing the Octagon middleweight and light heavyweight titles in that period. So since then, he did lose the middleweight belt, but he still is the current reigning and defending Octagon light heavyweight champion. Seems to finally maybe be slowing down a little bit at 39 years old, but still a force. He won a fight against an opponent who had previously beaten him in June. And outside of UFC appearances, if Vamola is 35-4, he's probably one of the best fighters in European MMA history. He's getting a little bit of a curveball with this matchup. He was supposed to fight on November 9th, but his opponent, Samuel Kostrofa, got hurt and pulled out, so now he's fighting about 6 weeks later against a guy that called him out in Will Fleury. And Will Fleury is a bigger name than Kostrovic. He fought for promotions like Bellator, PFL recently, so a win over Fleury will enhance Vamola's resume even that much more, and it will also be his third title defense, so that would be pretty impressive. In his way, though, is the 35-year-old Will Fleury, who he took a little bit of time to reach pay dirt, but he's made the most of it since getting there. First fight in 2012, and he had to win 11 fights in a row before he got signed to Bellator. He had a 6-fight run with the promotion in Bellator. He went 4-2 in those fights, so he did well. Ended up leaving Bellator in 2021 and went to UAE Warriors. He actually won the title there at middleweight and then made his way to the PFL, where it looked like he was on his way to a potential $1 million playoff. He won both of his fights in the season, including an upset win over Krzysztof Jotko, but unfortunately Fleury wasn't all the juice, so his fight with Jotko got overturned to a no contest. He got subsequently released from the UFC, and that led Fleury to Oktagon, where they don't care about drug tests. You know, him and Vamola, two juice heads, are going to be going at it, so, you know, all's fair in love with war, right? But, you know, Fleury's done really well on Oktagon. He's had 2 fights with them since getting cut. He submitted the first guy he was in there with. He knocked out a dude in round 1 in October. So now he's looking to claim his second major world title, prove he's one of the best fighters outside of the UFC or a main promotion in North America. And Fleury did kind of blow his chance by failing his drug test with the PFL. So if he ever wants to get interest from a North American promotion again, he's going to have to make himself undeniable and a huge star. But if he could beat Vamola, become a dominant champion in Octagon, he can make a lot of money there in Europe and, you know, be a big star over there. And Will Fleury is all power on the feet. His stand-up is clunky. He's really hittable. He's slow, but he'll take a shot to give a shot. Loads up on all his punches, so he hits hard, but I'm not really a big fan of his striking. He'll throw some front kicks to the body, too. He does have decent movement, you know, moving in and out of range, but his head doesn't move, so he's really hittable. That's why he doesn't like to stay at distance for long. He uses his punches to close the gap. His power does make him a viable striker, though, combined with his durability. He'll also attack the body to open up headshots, so he's a little bit tricky, but his last fight, he did get a one-punch knockout, and obviously not being on a lot of steroids, maybe his power is a little better, but he only has 3 knockout wins in his career. Not really someone that goes out there and gets KOs like that most of the time. But I expect Fleury to use strikes at the middle, like knees, uppercuts in this one. Vamola, he ducks his head and swings overhands to get in on the legs, and Fleury can time that, touch the chin. We have seen Vamola knocked out recently. And Will Fleury can make fights boring if need be. He'll use a lot of clinching, his size, strength, kind of just press fighters against the cage. Will Fleury's takedown defense didn't look good versus Jotko, He did get back up with the help of the cage. He looks hard to hold down, but you know, I feel like the takedown defense was severely lacking in that fight in certain periods. His gas tank has looked good in some fights, but I am a little bit worried about his gas tank at 205, man. I feel like, you know, being so big and bloated compared to where he was at certain points in his career, he could end up getting very tired potentially at some points. But, you know, if this fight stays on the feet or if Fleury can get on top, he's going to have a great chance to finish or just dominate. Carlos Vamola, he's a wrestler. He has good clinch control against the fence. He can win rounds just pushing you against the cage. And the game plan for Vamola is the same in almost every fight. He's looking to land a big overhand after the level change feint or level change and push you against the cage and eventually try to take your back and choke you out. He has some power, so if he can land that big overhand or a left hook, I mean, he can knock you out. We saw him get a 7-second knockout recently, but the threat isn't really huge for him on the feet. In the dirty boxing range, he does have good short uppercuts and things like that. He does hit hard, but just not very technical. He's slow. He's always ducking his head, and he's looks very vulnerable at distance. But you look at his career. I mean, the guy's only been knocked out twice in 45 fights. He did get knocked out really badly by Krstovic, who was going to rematch in the November fight that got canceled recently. But besides that, he's only been knocked out one other time in his entire career. And he has good wrestling. He looks to circle to the back, and then he will mat return guys and just ride them until they get tired. And then he has 20 submission wins, and most of them are rear naked chokes or arm triangles. So he is going to be looking to bring Fleury into those deep waters, fourth, fifth round, and then try to choke him out, But I honestly see this fight coming down to if Omola can get a takedown early. If he can get Fleury pressed up against the fence or take him down early, I think he can get him tired. And obviously, if he can get his positions, he could submit Fleury. But it's going to be tough to submit a fresh Fleury. I think it'll be later in the fight if that happens. If Will Fleury can keep it standing, maybe land some heavy punches or knees, he can definitely get the knockout. But he's the younger fighter, Fleury, but it isn't like he's that much younger. He's 36, but I feel like he has the hunger of a young fighter in comparison to Vomola, though. Vomola is established as a top fighter in Europe. He's a star in the Czech Republic. He has money. He's fought everyone. He's eyeing retirement in the near future. He's even talked about it, whereas Will Fleury still sees a ton of big moments ahead of him in his career. I feel like he's just getting started. If he can win this fight, take the belt, the world could open up for him due to that. And I just have a hard time picking Vomola, even though I think it's a good matchup with Fleury. I mean, I think he could take him down, but Fleury isn't fast or finesse. He only has 3 knockout wins in his career. Like I said, Vomola's been only knocked out twice in 45 fights, so I just think the likelihood that Fleury stops him early is kind of low. And I think Fleury's cardio at this size is a potential issue. With Vomola, we know he's going to be able to go for 5 rounds, and I think he can get takedowns. I think he can gas Fleury, so I'm going to go with the old man. I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going to go with Carlos Vomola. I'm going to say that hopefully he's not coming in here for a paycheck. He is the champ, and his pride gets in the way. He's able to muster up another great performance, and I'll predict that Vomola gets a third-round submission in that fight over Will Fleury. And finally, we got the main event. We got Ronald Paradiso rematching Ozan Aer, and this is the Tip Sport $1 million finale, so the winner of this fight is not only going to be the champion of Oktagon, but be $1 million richer, and Ozan Aer is the challenger going into this fight, but he's the man who won the first meeting between these two guys, and he's the man in Oktagon, really. He was the champ at 145, 155, and his only loss in his career is due to injury. But Ronald Paradiso really gave him a tough fight. I actually thought there was an argument that he won the first 3 rounds. I think he did definitely win round 1 and round 3, but round 2 was the swing round, and then he clearly lost round 4 and 5, which gave Keita the win. But it was a close fight. It was a 5-round fight, so it's the same environment this fight is, so that was good to see them fight for all 5 rounds. That fight was in 2022, so it wasn't that long ago, but since then Paradiso and Keita both fought 8 times. I mean, they've been extremely active. Paradiso was able to claim the belt over Ivan Butchinger because Keita vacated it to go to 45, and he ended up winning the 45 belt before coming back up for this tournament at 55s. And Paradiso's gone 8-0 since that loss to Keita, whereas Keita's gone 7-1. And you look at the fight, I mean, one thing that really stood out early was the size difference. Ronald Paradiso could never make 145. I believe he's fought even as high as 185. And he's the much bigger fighter. That was evident early in the first round. He was able to get a takedown, take the back. He was doing a good job of pull countering and landing nice chuck hooks, straight right hands. He was going to the body, and he was just a little bit sharper and longer than Keita, and that was helping him in the boxing. And he used his size to get a single and take the backpack Keita and win the first round. But he didn't really get any top control after round 1. He got a couple takedowns, but never could really cement position. I think trying to get the back or cement position on top in this fight more in rounds where you could kind of have maybe an easier round cardio-wise. You're not moving as much, and you bank the round. I think that could help him win and keep his conditioning. But on the feet, Paradiso was using his link to counter. He was landing nice counter hooks, rear overhands. His kicking game was on point. He was landing a lot of really nice kicks. He's slick on the feet. I mean, he has good movement, technical offense, good accuracy, clearly he was giving issues to Kita. He's the more active guy and probably more skilled, but Kita just has great boxing. He's a very composed guy that doesn't waste a lot of energy. He's in there, he's walking you down, he's waiting for you to give him openings, and when he sees them, he's sniping you with straight punches. He has big power, and he just has a 5-round style because he's never wasting any energy. And his takedown defense is good. He's hard to hold down. He's kind of slippery, and he's just a hard guy to deal with. I mean, the guy fights very, very well, and he has to be confident. I mean, when he beat Paradiso, he only had 6 fights. Paradiso had 20. Now Kita has a lot more experience, and style-wise, Kita, he's faster, he's slick, accurate, and he's going to be walking Paradiso down as this fight goes on. So I think Paradiso either has to get the takedowns to get Kita tired, or Kita's just going to walk him down and get Ronnie gassed again. I mean, that's what happened in the first fight. The first 3 rounds are competitive, but round 4, Kita dropped him, dominated. You saw Paradiso was super gassed. I mean, the guy was literally spitting his mouthpiece out to get break after he was getting unloaded on, and probably should have lost a point for that. But Kita just took over the fight down the stretch. He was landing some nice low kicks as well, which seemed like they affected Paradiso. And like I said, for Paradiso, I think he either has to go out there and say, okay, I'm going to go for broke and try to get this early finish, be aggressive early and try to land big overhands, check hooks, and rock Kita and maybe club and sub him or knock him out. I mean, we've seen Kita rocked before, even though he has a good chin. I feel like in the first fight we kind of saw that when Paradiso hit Kita, he could take it, even though he kind of rocked him a little bit. But when Paradiso got touched by Kita, he got dropped or hurt pretty badly. But I feel like if Paradiso can mix in takedowns and get control time early, maybe more than just in the first round, he could potentially use that to maintain his gas tank a little bit better down the stretch, and that could help him get the win here. But I don't have confidence in that. I mean, Paradiso slowed down even in round 3 of his fight earlier this year with that Attila Kirkmas. I actually thought Kirkmas beat Paradiso. But Paradiso, I mean, if he goes out there and gets in the pocket, brawls it out, I mean, maybe he could find that early finish. But if he can't knock out Kita, which I think will be really tough, I just don't see him having the wrestling cardio for 5 rounds. He's going to slow down. Kita with his 5-round style will be able to take over, and I just see the fight playing out similar to the first fight. Paradiso hasn't shown me he can maintain his cardio any better over 5 rounds since the last time we saw him, and I do think this fight could go either way, because I do think Paradiso has ways to win, but I got to go with Kita again via decision, and I think he's going to get this win here. So that's my prediction. Losine Kita to regain the lightweight title in Oktagon, win the Tip Sport Championship, and there you have it, guys. Full card prediction breakdown video for Oktagon 65. Really appreciate everyone that watched the video this far. Like I said at the beginning of the video, hit that like button. Put a comment down below if you want me to do a Rising video. Tell me about that. Tell me you want me to do that Rising video. If I get 5 comments, I will end up putting it out. If you want access to the written breakdowns for this card, the bets that I'm going to be putting down, then go to patreon.com/EmilPredictionGuru like always. And yeah, guys, thanks everyone for watching all year. Really appreciate you. Hopefully you guys have some fun watching this video when there's not a lot of content out. But it kind of sucks. I was going to add Sizbova here to the parlay that I was going to give you guys, but she did pull out, I believe, this morning. So, yeah, you see that Sizbova illness, so that's unfortunate. But for the parlay of the week that I will give you, I'll give you guys a parlay of Ravon Uskrt and Jacob Batfalsky. I feel like Lagursky is a play that you could do. I also believe Bolander's fairly safe if you want to get a little crazy and add her into a 3-legger. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't really trust Kita enough to bet him really. Vamole is an underdog if you want to get a little crazy and put some money on him. I like Magard, and I do like as well, like I said, Ozan Aer. So I think that's kind of what I'm leaning with. And now that I see this fight here, I'm not going to give you a long breakdown because I literally just saw it and I already kind of ended the video a little bit, but I think Bolander's going to beat Pudilova here. I feel like first time they fought, she beat her. And since they're doing this rematch here, it's 5 rounds. I think that if you can get Bolander at an underdog price, go bet her because she's going to win that fight in my opinion. So Cecile Bolander, I think she's going to be able to use the same style that we kind of saw the first time that she fought Pudilova to beat her. So yeah, I like Bolander in that fight that got made on really short notice, I guess. And Bolander was getting ready to fight. I obviously broke down her other fight, so it's not like she's coming in here cold, and Pudilova was as well. So they're going to be in shape. They've already fought each other, so they know how they match up, and I just think Bolander's going to get the job done. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back soon breaking down another MMA card. So stay locked in on the channel, and I'll talk to you guys later.